All right, Craig Stammen earlier today at Petco had his introductory press conference to be the next Padres manager, and I didn't really have a ton of takeaways, to be honest. Like, I was thinking going into it, I'd have a ton of takeaways, but really, it's like Craig Stammen. I feel like he's going to fit in well. He's already in the organization, and there isn't really anything that was talked about by him today where I was like, "Whoa," you know. I'm fine with the hire. I don't think it was a terrible hire. It caught us off guard, but I was fine with the hire. And him talking today pretty much reaffirmed that it seems like it would be a solid hire. But I mean, regardless of what was said here today, what's going to matter is what's going to happen, inside that clubhouse when he's speaking to the team, what's going to be happening in game and all that. I guess a couple things to note was how this happened and how AJ Preller was really expressing confidence in Craig Stammen, and he wanted Craig Stammen to think about being the next Padres manager. This wasn't because what I thought, like how the messaging was to us, the fan base, was that Stammen was interviewing people, and then he said, "I want the job," and put his name in. But from what Craig was saying today, it seemed like it was AJ that was like, "I want you to think about this. Like, I want you to be maybe the next Padres manager." And so then they had a conversation. Craig had obviously many conversations probably with his family and his kids are because he's from Ohio. His kids are in Ohio, so it would be him moving them to obviously here in the state of California with school and all that. So there's just different things involved there, and it's not just him that was impacted by this decision. And so they made some family decisions, and it was an opportunity that he couldn't pass up. So yeah, but like it just seemed, and we already knew this, but it seems like Craig just a really good guy. I saw some people, or at least one person, was saying how he got like Ted Lasso vibes from this Craig Stammen press conference, which I kind of get what you're saying, but then that doesn't make sense because Ted Lasso was an American football coach and then goes over to England. Like Craig Stammen, he's in baseball. It's just a player that's becoming the manager, a former player who's now retired becoming the manager. Um, he's not going to be one of the questions by Allison Edmonds of KUSI was about, you know, what could it be like bossing around some of these guys that you played with, former teammates. And Craig's like, I'm not going to be bossing them around. I think he gave a really good answer. How he wants them to see how he treats his family, and hopefully that's the way that he's going to treat those players, like family, like he's their family, or they're his family, I should say. And so he's going to push them and try to get that best version out of themselves, but it's not going to be this bossing around thing. Which obviously, yeah, he's not going to go boss around Manny Machado. If anyone thought that was going to happen, I don't know what to tell you. AJ Preller's opening comments, he kind of rambled a little bit. He was talking about the start of wanting Craig Stammen to be a Padre and how Cleveland actually won that out initially, and just talking about the background of Craig and him as a player and some of the things that he saw in Craig. And then in the future, obviously, him potentially being a manager. And that went on for like 6 minutes. Craig Stammen, number 14. So taking Andy Green's number. That's the first thing I realized when I saw that 14. I was like, oh, taking Andy Green. Okay. But Andy, to be fair, like Andy Green, I feel like could be a successful manager in the big leagues in the future if he's given another shot. He just wasn't given an opportunity to actually go win a bunch of baseball games with the teams that he was given because the Padres obviously were in that rebuilding phase. If he was managing last year's team or, you know, just any recent Padres team, maybe not 2023 because like that is what it is, but the talented Padres teams, let's say any time from the start, the brown and gold Padres, I think he could have been successful. Um, so Stammen's probably going to be taking some of that stuff from Andy Green, taking some stuff that he learned from Mike Schilt. He did mention wanting to kind of carry on what Mike brought the Padres and built with the Padres. So we'll see about that. And if it's a majority the same coaching staff, then yeah, I could totally see why you would be just trying to continue some of those things. I know that people are going to talk about the article about the coaching staff not liking Schilt and how Schilt treated some of the coaches, um, and obviously the lack of postseason success because they didn't get past the division series with him. But ultimately, like, he did win 90 games in back-to-back seasons, and so there is something to that. So we'll see. Uh, we'll see if the bunts continue. I think that's one of the main things that people think about. But as for the rest of the coaching staff, Ruben Niebla, he was there today, and I did like this Stammen talking about how much he's going to rely on Ruben Niebla. Let me find that.
Ruben is here. And he was a finalist. How do you view that working relationship going forward?
I think it's going to be great. I have so much respect for Ruben. I've had the privilege of being a player under him and being able to see how he can coach players and get the best out of them. And then the last 2 years, I've seen his processes kind of behind the scenes on, how he's able to get the best out of all of our players. Honestly, he's the guy I'm going to rely on the most. His experience, I think he's one of the best coaches in our entire sport, not just pitching coaches, but coaches overall. And we're going to put a lot on his plate. I'm going to put a lot on his plate, but I'm excited to work with Ruben. It's going to be an extension of our relationship that started with me as a player. And now we get to work hand in hand as manager, pitching coach. I'm excited about it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So, Stammen obviously glowing about Niebla, one of the best coaches in baseball. So that's where the question comes in. Why didn't they just hire Ruben Niebla to be the manager then if he's so good? But Ruben seems like he really loves the Padres organization. And it could be that, hey, the Padres really love what Ruben gives in that role that he's in. So don't change that. Keep him in that role so he can excel in that role. And if you lose him to be a manager somewhere, then you do, but try to keep him in that role. Maybe maybe they'll end up paying him more per year or something that we don't know about. But keep him in that role and bring someone else in who's already been in the organization, who's been in the dugout, been on the mound, who's given up 4 homers in a row, as Stammen did joke in this presser, which I liked, him joking with Jeff Sanders of the UT. But have that combination there. Stammen talked about I think he said lethal combo that could be. Maybe I misquoted that, but he did mention that combo between him and Niebla. And I agree. And throw Ben Fritz in there too. I don't think we should just limit it to Stammen and Niebla because Ben Fritz does a lot. I'm sure he does a lot behind the scenes as well with that group. And he recently agreed, I think, someone, either Dennis or Kevin, I think, reported that Ben Fritz did recently get a multi-year contract. So good for him. Anything else that stood out from this presser? I'll get to Preller in a minute. Here's the question about pushing some of, or bossing around some of his best friends, I should say.
And tell them what to do when things get out of line and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think the key word is boss. I'm not bossing them around, I hope that they see, honestly, I hope they see how I treat my family and how I treat my kids. And I hope that they feel that I'm treating them in a similar manner, treating them like family. I think in this role, I will have to push them and I want to be able to push them, but I also think I can partner with them. And I know what goals that they want. We've talked about those types of things, like what we wanted to achieve as a group. We tried to achieve those goals as a group and hadn't quite got there yet. But is there a way for me to get in just a little bit and push them that 1% or motivate them that 1% that pushes them over the line to accomplish something that they never thought was possible? And so I think that's like a really fun challenge, like to push some of my best friends to be at their best and to, create things in their career that they never thought were possible. And what's better than having your best friends succeed, people that you care about succeed. And that's what I'm excited about.
I love that answer. No, like I said, no, I don't picture Craig Stammen bossing around Manny Machado. But I think that he has the respect of those guys in the clubhouse. So, and he is the manager, so not necessarily fall in line, but like when he pushes you and follow that. Be able to be pushed. Don't just be like, no, I'm good with where I'm at. No, be willing to try to get better. Maybe be uncomfortable in some certain situations to try to improve and get better because that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get the most out of them. So that's going to be interesting to see how that goes. But overall, like, did Stammen win the press conference? Yeah, I guess. It doesn't matter. Like, I thought that Stammen was probably going to come across the way that he did today. I'm not super surprised by anything that happened. The only, I guess, big surprise was the number. Like, literally, it wasn't a ton that came out of that press conference. Like, we knew he was going to rely on Ruben Niebla. We knew that Preller obviously wanted Craig Stammen. This was a Preller hire. Yeah, he's not going to boss around these guys. I'm just not. There's just not many takeaways. I'm not super surprised by anything that was said here in this presser. I did want to get to Preller because there was not one question asked in the press conference about AJ Preller and a potential contract extension. Like, if I'm the Padres, I wanted to avoid this situation, so I would have wanted to get the extension done before we get Stammen introduced. I know the GM meetings are this week in Vegas, but have the extension done so you can kind of just do a joint one, or you can even do a separate. You could do it separate, but like eliminate that distraction of a question, if that makes sense. But the Padres didn't. And so I was expecting at least one person to ask during the press conference portion of this about AJ's future. That now, because I understand him saying like the focus was hiring a manager. Okay, it's done now. So what's happening? I think an extension is going to get worked out. I don't think it's a huge deal, but that did stand out. I was waiting the entire time, waiting for a Preller question about his future, and nothing came. So maybe Padres PR told the media to not ask AJ any questions like that during this because it's Craig Stammen's time. It's the Stammen introductory press conference. Let's not make this about AJ. So I assume somebody will ask because what happens is there's the press conference, and then what we don't see, what maybe we see a little bit later if Marty Caswell posts it or something, there's separate scrums afterwards with Preller talking to the media or doing one-on-ones with someone where that question probably will be asked of him. So that's when we'll get a quote somewhere from someone, I would think. I just thought someone would have asked while everyone is watching. I don't know. But yeah, that's really all I got. Stammen, I'm excited to see how this is going to go. I love that they were able to keep Ruben, obviously. Like, that's a huge win. And Stammen could end up being a huge win. It could end up not working out. But whoever the Padres brought in here could have ended up not working out. And, like, ultimately, as I've said before, the players got to be better. When it matters the most in these big games, they're the ones that are on the field. When the offense doesn't come through, I'm not sitting there blaming Craig Stammen. Oh, man, Craig Stammen lost us this game. No, the offense didn't score enough runs. Like, that's really what that is. Players that were at this press conference, don't read too much into this because players have off seasons. Some guys aren't even in San Diego. They're not in California. They're probably in another country. Like, there's vacation time. There's off season time. But I did see that members of the media tweeted out. I forget who tweeted it out, so I'm sorry. Maybe it was Marty. that Yuki Matsui was there, Joe Musgrove was there, Jason Adam was there. Those are the three that are off the top of my head that I remember seeing. Ruben was there. John Seidler was there. Probably Grupner was there. So, yeah. It's these manager press conferences, the introductory press conferences, it's a day for the media to have something to talk about. Did this guy win the press conference? How did he sound? All that. As long as he didn't come off as, Deshaun Foster, I think that was his name, the UCLA head coach. For anyone that knows what I'm talking about there at the Big Ten Media Day, that was terrible. As long as he didn't come off like that, then it would have been fine. Like, what matters isn't how he acts in these press conferences. What matters is, can he manage? And can he command that clubhouse? And the answer is, for the second one, we don't know about the first one. I'm confident that he can with the resources that he'll have. I wonder if there's any new coaches that will be brought on. Will a Don Mattingly be brought on? So that's interesting. But the second one about, commanding the clubhouse and getting the respect, he doesn't need to get the respect. Maybe he would say he needs to, but I think if you're a major leaguer in there, you already respect Craig Stammen. Over a decade in the show, like, that's not something that happens all the time. So he's been through a lot. Arm injuries, minor league deal, pitching in playoff games, giving up 4 homers in a row, and dealing with talking to the media afterward. Like, the guy's been through a lot. So I think that, Manny is someone that respects people that play a long time in the show. And Craig is one of those. And it's a former teammate. So I think that can help with this process as well. I think players are going to, it's someone that they're going to love to fight for because they love Craig, right? They don't have to develop the feelings. Well, some players, because he didn't play with all these Padres players, but some of these core players, like, they already know him. They're like friends with him. So I think that will help them, like, wanting to run through a wall for this guy, if that makes sense.